Hi everybody. So today I am going to be talking about deer resistant plants in my garden. Stay tuned. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about deer resistant plants in my garden. I garden in zone 8B, Central Texas, and I live in a somewhat rural area. We call it a rural burb. It's not that far from the city. However, it is a rural setting. We purchased land. There was nothing here. It is master planned, so to speak, but it is kind of in a rural setting as well. As a result, there was, a lot of wildlife that have been living here for a while, and currently a lot of the wildlife remains, and so we're sharing our spaces with the wildlife. I try to do a lot of gardening with that in mind. I love to grow plants and trees and things that help bird habitats, for example. However, the deer, I don't want them in my yard. I have neighbors that put things out to feed the deer. I like go over there, eat, but don't eat my plants, please. I'm not putting plants in my yard for you to eat them. So has been a trial and error for gardening here. Sometimes things are considered or listed as deer resistant, and they truly aren't here. And so after about 2.5 years, almost 3 years of paying attention to plantings, but also watching the security camera. So when they enter our space, so our yard, I am watching exactly what they do. And so I've been doing that for about 2.5 years now. So what I'm going to share right now is my experiences, what I have discovered in terms of the deer. And like I said, over 2.5 years, it's not the same deer. It's different families of deer. And I've been watching their habits. And so I'm compiling this list based upon my watching the plants, but also watching the deer. So there, if you notice, there are 2 plants in pots. This is going to be an experiment. Those are Marvel Mahonias. And it was deadly just unpacking it. Like, it is so pokey and so sharp. One would think that the deer won't eat this plant. However, they go after roses like it's candy, and the thorns on certain roses, it's not enough to deter them. So I'm going to see how this Marvel Mahonia does. I'm going to put it in the ground today, and we'll see if the deer stay away from it. Hopefully they do, because I am looking forward to having a plant in the ground that will have some winter color. This plant is supposed to become about 6 feet tall, about 4 feet wide, so it'll fill out the spot nicely. I may need to get a third one in front of the tree, the twin trees here, but I'm starting with the 2. I want to see if they get eaten, and then I might invest in a 3, because as you can see, these are 3-gallon pots, and those aren't the cheapest of the plants. So that's the Mahonia. So moving on, the first, and this is in no particular order in terms of how deer resistant the plants are. So the first plant on my list is a boxwood. The plant in front of us, these are sprinter boxwoods. These are in my front yard, and they went into the ground last year, back in May. They were little quarts, so now they look like they're about, a 1.5 gallon size plant. They haven't been touched by the deer. The deer walk right by them. I grow sprinter boxwood. I grow derunk boxwood. I grow Little Jim boxwood, or baby Jim boxwood, and I also grow Japanese boxwood. And across all of these different boxwoods, the deer don't go anywhere near them. So that is the first plant that I'm going to highlight if you're looking for something that is deer resistant. Now, for most of us, it's evergreen. so it can create nice evergreen structure for the garden and something nice to look at when everything else dies away. So that is the first plant on my list. The next plant on my list is the kindly privet. And not just the kindly privet, I also grow, it's Texanum Japonica, Texas privet, Texanum. Let's just keep it simple. And the proper names, but Texas privet. The one in front of you, the one that we're focusing on, is the kindly privet. That again was planted, this one went in the ground about 5 months ago. It was a 1-gallon plant. Whether it is the Texas privet or this kindly privet, it is a seedless variety, a proven winner's variety. So the invasiveness associated with the seeds, this plant is supposed to have a low or no seed dropping. Therefore, it's not invasive. 100% deer resistant. I grow it in various parts of my yard, not just the backyard behind the fence, but also the front yard. There is another one over on the right. Clearly it's on irrigation. The one on the left actually is on no irrigation at all. And so it's still doing okay. But as you can see, the one on the right that's on irrigation, it's larger than the one on the left. So the second plant that I would focus on, if you're looking for something that's deer resistant, the privets. Now these are zone 7 to 9. So those of you who garden in a colder climate, this may not be the right plant for you. But if you're in zone 7 to 9, try it out. The deer won't go anywhere near it. Next to it is the de-runked boxwood that I was speaking of earlier. In fact, one of them still has the tag on it. But yeah, like I said, the deer don't go anywhere near them. The next plant that I'm going to highlight is this Veronica that I need to get in and clean out a bit. So they all are looking kind of raggedy, but I expect to be able to clean out some of the raggedy parts this weekend, and they're starting to show their blooms again for the fall. Again, deer go nowhere near this plant. And the nice bonus, if you're in a warmer climate, these Veronica are semi-evergreen. So these plants went in as little 4-inch pots. They were planted, when did I put these in the ground? Last fall. So they're little 4-inch pots, and they don't get damaged by the deer. Rabbits either, to be perfectly honest. So this big monster in the corner is a Summertime Blues Vitex. Now I planted it last fall. This wall was completed last May or June, so May or June of 2023, and I planted this like September of 2023. It's supposed to be 5 to 8 feet wide by 5 to 8 feet tall. This is the third Summertime Blues Vitex plant that I have planted that I have in my yard. So I have 3 of them. One thing about these Vitex or chase trees, deer go nowhere near them. I have 2 in the front yard. At one point I had 3. I moved the third one to a position in the backyard, but they have beautiful flowers throughout the growing season. Right now it's taking a bit of a break, but it's budding up, so it's going to put on its last show pretty soon. Deer go nowhere near it. So the next plant, there's actually 2 in the planter bed that I want to highlight because they're extremely deer resistant. The first is this feather false carex. Grows to become, it's supposed to become about 2 feet wide and 2 feet in height. Clearly it's wider than 2 feet. It is definitely 3 feet. But the strappy leaves, I don't know, maybe it's what deters the deer, but the deer go nowhere near carex. The thing about it though, it can grow in part shade to shade conditions. Mine is in part shade. It's in the front yard, not touched by the deer. Those are Japanese boxwood behind it, not touched by the deer. In the forefront, moving on to the next plant, these are nepeta or catmint, another plant that deer go nowhere near. Now, this one doesn't get enough sun, so I don't know how it's going to grow. It is a newer plant, so I'm going to give it a little time. But if it doesn't start to pick up, because I wanted something a little taller than what it is, it's cat's meow, I may need to move them, relocate them. I have 3 in this planter bed, and I may need to move these nepeta into a place where they get more sun because it's just not flowering the way that it should. And the one on the left is really small. So I had hoped to get out here and limb up this the Summertime Blues Vitex so those plants could get a little more sun. But it's like trying to balance out giving them the sun that they need by making sure that the featherfall carex doesn't receive too much. And speaking of the bloom on the Summertime Blues, it's starting to bloom. There's one of the pretty blooms right now. If you want to see what the beautiful blooms look like on this plant, I really love the color. It is bold enough to show up, but not so bold that it like just slaps you in the face. That is my kind of bloom. So moving on, next plant. These are kind of a hot mess. I need to come in, and I didn't come in and I haven't done any deadheading or chopping things down, but the lavender-like blooms are on the buddleia. Those are puxter amethyst. Again, deer go nowhere near this plant. And behind it, starting to put on its beautiful fall flush, is the Beyond Midnight Caryopteris. I really, really, really like the color of those blooms back there on that Beyond Midnight Caryopteris. Isn't that pretty? It's pretty to me, especially because that's my theme. Purples, blues, pinks, lavenders, those kind of tones. Okay, so moving on, the next plant on my deer-resistant list is the dwarf Burford holly. Now this plant, I have 3 of them back there by the window. They aren't, when they were babies, I didn't know if they were getting nibbled on by deer or rabbits. I never was able to determine what, was causing the little bit of damage that I thought I was seeing. However, whatever it wasn't enough to destroy the plant. So the next plant that I'm going to highlight is the rosemary over in the corner. I have 3 rosemary. And so those are Chef's Choice rosemary back there. They are supposed to become about 2 feet wide by 2 feet tall. I don't have them properly spaced. I need to move the one in the middle and the one to the right over a bit. But gosh, look at how much the one on the left has grown. It was a 1-gallon plant that went in the ground last fall. The only issue that one could have with them here is they're like zone 7B or 8. So if we get a really, really cold snap, I don't have any experience with them yet to know what it's going to do. So I'm sure it's going to happen, and I will be checking back and letting everyone know how this performs in our garden. Another plant that does extremely well, I'll have to go over to my backyard now, but it is the, what am I focusing? Oh, salvia. Salvia. Very deer resistant. And I don't care what kind of salvia it is, whether it's Salvia gregii or some of the nice hybrids like Rockin' Playing the Blues. and other salvias created by proven winners, or even some of the Ferencinae. Sorry, can't pronounce it. But here is a Mystic Spire salvia. And it is another plant that the deer go nowhere near. It's like if you have deer pressure, I think if a deer nibbles on your salvia, it was really, really, really starving. And oh yeah, if an animal's really starving, okay, you can eat my salvia, nibble on it. Hopefully it will come back. But typically it is not their food of choice. So let's see. The only plants that I have left that I wanted to focus on, for those of you who deal with deer, and maybe if you're in a warm climate, is some of the trees. The eastern red cedar, and am I going to go over there and show it? Yeah, I'll walk over and show the eastern red cedar. The eastern red cedar and all of its variants. So the Brody, the Berkey, eastern red cedar, all of these plants are deer resistant. When my yard was a little more exposed and these trees were here, and we had even more deer pressure than we have now, never had any issues with them going after these plants. So the tall plant is an eastern red cedar. They are it's a great evergreen for Central Texas. It does not have the problems that many of the Leland cypress have. I love the Leland cypress, but I just wanted something very resilient and less, something that had less issues. Next to it on the left is the Berkey eastern red cedar. I just love the open growth. You guys have heard me mention already how much I really like this tree. And I've also mentioned, if you wanted to see, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the butterflies. Oh my gosh, they are all over the salvia. They are all over this blue fortune agastaki. Oh, how beautiful. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I got distracted. But, oh. The one over here on the left. Oh, there he is. He's flying near me. He heard me talking about him. He's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Anyway, okay. Composure here. So moving back to the deer-resistant plants and trees. The tall, skinny plant back there in between the two eastern red cedars is a Taylor juniper. So the Taylor juniper back there, it only becomes about 3 feet wide, and it'll become about 20 feet tall or so. It is also deer resistant. And the last tree that I wanted to focus on, so you can't go wrong with junipers. You can't go wrong with eastern red cedars. If you want butterflies in your yard, you can't go wrong with the blue fortune agastaki. I think I thought salvias attracted butterflies, but this blue fortune agastaki, I guess it's the day for the butterflies. Last week it was inundated with just regular honeybees, but I don't know where the bees are today. The butterflies have taken over. Will you look at that? I'm sorry, I'm back at it again. Let me move down to the Arizona cypress down here, because that is the last of the trees that I want to point out. There's some buddleia right next to the blue fortune. Those are the nice purple blooms on the, it's a Lo and Behold blue chip down there. Like I said, deer resistant. That's the nice thing about the buddleia. You can get them in a wide range of colors. Purple, white, blues, The next deer-resistant plant, and I'm sorry, I forgot this one, but the Russian sage. You can put it in the front yard. This particular plant is the denim and lace Russian sage right in front of us. And I guess that's where the bees are today. It has bees all over it, the one on the right, full of bees. And so I guess they told the butterflies, you can have the Agastaki and we'll take the Russian sage today. But the Russian sage is a deer-resistant plant. At some point, y'all, I will make it down there to the Arizona cypress. Because yes, I'm working my way down there, but gosh, the butterflies on the Blue Fortune Agastaki. I think they're sharing it with bees and moths. They're just having a party in there. A pollinator party. That's what I'm going to call it. Anywho, and you can see more beautiful blooms on the buddleia, the butterfly bush. It's got butterflies on it as well. I am so happy to see this. Oh my gosh. You know, this is supposed to be a video on deer-resistant plants, but the pollinator party is taking the show. It's stealing the show. Definitely distracting me. It's a good distraction. Oh my. I don't know why, you know, one thinks spring. But to be perfectly honest, when you put the right plants in, you put the pollinator magnets in your garden and they will follow. They will come. So I've had plants just inundated with pollinators all year, but this right now, what I'm seeing is just spectacular in comparison to what I've seen throughout other parts of the year. Okay, so last plant on this list, everybody, is the Arizona cypress. This plant, deer goes nowhere near. It can become up to 15 feet wide, 25 or so feet tall. It is drought resistant. The deer don't eat it. The rabbit don't eat it. It is a stellar choice for those who garden in climates where it doesn't get too cold for it. If you are in a drought, this is a great plant or great tree to grow, but it is very deer resistant. The leaves are very aromatic. I find some people either love it or hate it. I like it. But it is another one. So I have other plants. Everything that I buy is deer or rabbit resistant. I just haven't tested other plants. I haven't had the opportunity to observe them because they're newer for me. But should I find more plants that have tried and true observed deer resistance, I will update this list. Please comment below regarding any plants that you have observed as being deer resistant in your garden. Okay, back to the butterflies. No, I'm going to end this video right here. If you like this content, if you get value from anything that I present here, if you're starting a new garden, if you're looking for drought resistant, deer resistant, rabbit resistant, hopefully my garden will become visually what I am planning at some point. It is a new garden, but if you're interested in seeing more of this content, go ahead and click subscribe. I appreciate you tuning in and watching. Please share this video, and if there's nothing else, I hope you have a great day in your garden. Bye.